In today's video, I'm going to share 40 flips I had from this past year. Each of these items sold on Poshmark this year for $40 or more. 39 out of the 40 were from the Goodwill Outlet, so only one of them was from, I think it was Savers, but a regular thrift store where there's actually price tags on the items rather than just weighing at the end and coming up with kind of an average cost of good, which for me tends to be right around $1.50 to $2, somewhere in that range. So just assume each of these items that we're going to go through cost me somewhere between $1.50 and $2, and then there is one exception to that, which I will share when we get to it, what I paid for it. But each of these items flipped on Poshmark for $40 or more in this past year. So these are pretty good brands to be on the lookout for. I'm just gonna hop right into it because 40 items is kind of a lot. So I feel like this is gonna take a little bit, but we're just gonna go through one by one and I'll share, what it sold for, how long it took to sell, and all of that. So here we go. So first up is this Everlane cashmere polo sweater in a size extra small. This one I had listed on Poshmark at $50 and then I ended up selling it for $40. I paid $1.72 in shipping costs. So after my platform fees, shipping costs, and the cost of good, I profited $28.62. And it only took one day to sell. Then this Burberry London polo short sleeve shirt. Okay, we're starting off strong with polos here, but this I listed again at $50 and someone sent me an offer for $40. So I accepted that. I didn't have any shipping costs at all. And so after the cost of good and the platform fee, I was left with a profit of $30.26. And this item took 17 days to sell. So I think there are a couple Burberry items on this list, but yeah, that's usually a good brand to grab if you're out thrifting and you find it. It's definitely something I'm on the lookout for when I'm thrifting and have had good luck with Burberry. So I feel like nobody would probably leave that behind if they found it at the bins, but yeah, if you find it, pick it up. Next up is this Sundance wool blend cardigan sweater in a size extra small. So this I had listed for $65 and then I ended up selling it for $40 on Poshmark. Again, that was somebody who sent me an offer, so I didn't have any shipping costs, and the total profit was $30.44. That only took 11 days to sell, so these so far are pretty quick turnaround times. Items do not always flip that quickly, so I'm very happy to see that some of these higher profit flips were also like fast flips, so that's a win-win there. All right, then we have this Smart Wool men's merino 250 base layer long sleeve shirt in a size large. This I had sold on Poshmark for $40 again. I listed it at $60 and then someone sent me that offer for $40. So again, that left me with $30.44 in profit, and that one took 10 days to sell. I think I mentioned in my last video that Smart Wool, I've only found it once, and this is the once that I found it, but it did sell quickly and it sold for a good sale price, especially buying it for $1.56 and selling it for $40. That's a great flip, and that's a pretty expensive brand if I'm not mistaken, so I think that's definitely one to be on the lookout for. Okay, then next on this list is this pair of Anthropologie Pilcrow Demi-Lune bootcut jeans in a size 26. These I had listed at $50 and sold again for $40 on Poshmark, and I was left with a profit of $32.93. But those jeans took 65 days to sell, so just a little over 2 months. But Pilcrow is a brand that's sold at Anthropologie, but it doesn't say Anthropologie on the brand tag. So that's probably one that's pretty easy to skip over, but if you come across that brand, I would recommend just at least looking at what similar items have sold for recently and see how many are currently available to determine whether or not to pick it up, also known as checking comps, looking, doing a little quick recon about the item. But that's a brand I would recommend at least looking into further if you do come across it, because it can flip for a pretty good amount. All right, next up is this pair of Levi's 550 tapered leg relaxed fit jeans in a men's size 36-32. And I sold these for $40 on Poshmark. I was left with $28.32 profit. And that was in offers to likers. So I sent out offers and the buyer accepted it. So I did have a little bit of a shipping cost for that one, just because when you send out offers to likers, you have to give the buyer a shipping discount. So that does take out of your profit, and in that case that took out of my profit, but it also made the sale. So I think that's overall a good thing to do. And I actually looked at I think it's like My Closet Insights on Poshmark recently, and it was like 87% or something of all my sales from 2023 this past year were from me sending out offers to likers. So that's a lot of sales to be made from offers. I think that's offers just to likers. That could have actually be total offers. I think that might be total offers. Offers sent to me and offers to likers. Like me sending out offers and someone sending to me. But in any case, a majority of the sales I make on Poshmark are through offers. Most of the time it's not someone buying it outright at the full asking price. So just something to keep in mind. That is partially why I do price my items a little higher than I'm expecting them to sell, just to leave room for an offer one way or the other, from me sending it or from the buyer sending it to me. So something good to keep in mind. Those jeans took 102 days to sell, so not the fastest flip, but I was left with a good profit once they did end up selling. All right, next up is this pair of Lily Pulitzer Callahan nautical sailboats shorts. And these I sold on Poshmark for $40, and I was left with a $29.67 profit. These actually were tossed to me at the bins, so someone ended up just giving these to me to sell, and I am happy because that left me with, a little under $30. So that was a good flip, and thank you if you happen to be watching. But those took 105 days to sell, and let me see, those sold in May. So yeah, right before summer. That tracks. Okay, so the next up is this Buck Mason wool sweatpants in a size small. This was the first time I'd ever heard of this brand, looked into this brand. I remember seeing the care tag and thinking it looked like something a little nicer, and I wanted to look into the brand a little bit more. So when I was at the bins on this day, I do remember, checking comps and being pleasantly surprised at what this brand kind of retailed for / could resell for. So I sold those for $40 on Poshmark. Wow, these first half are just all gonna be $40. First quarter of these are all $40. But anyways, those sold for $40 and left me with $30.28 in profit. And the buyer sent me an offer for these. So I didn't have a shipping cost or anything, but they took 64 days to sell. I would count that as a pretty quick flip, not the fastest flip ever, but pretty quick turnaround, pretty great profit and sale price. And especially for a brand that I didn't know. So, those are easy sometimes just to skip right over, but if you just take 10 seconds and look it up quickly, sometimes it does pay off literally. All right, next up is this LL Bean corduroy button front shacket in a teal blue, size extra small. This sold for full asking price at $40 on Poshmark and left me with $30.45 in profit. And that shacket took 145 days to sell. Shacket is just shirt and jacket combined, if you did not know. So not the fastest flip. It took me half a year to sell that, and it didn't end up selling until July, which is kind of funny because I listed it in February. So I thought it was gonna be, a good fall, winter kind of an item, but they bought it in July. They were looking ahead to fall, or maybe just somewhere a little bit cooler. But yeah, it is sometimes funny because you think certain items, seasonal items, will flip at certain times, but you just really never know for sure. So that ended up selling in July. Good flip. LL Bean is not a brand that I'm going to necessarily grab every single time, but if it's a good style and a good category, or if the item just looks really nice, or there's some factors, but typically LL Bean is not a brand I'm scouring the bins for. But yeah, this one ended up working out and being a good flip. Okay, then next is this pair of Reformation straight leg dress pants in a size 2. These I listed at $60 and they sold for $40. Again, that was a buyer sending me an offer. Left me with $31.05 in profit, and not a quick flip at all. They took 220 days, so I was sitting on those for a little while, but Reformation is a brand, especially at the bins, I'm usually going to grab. It usually does end up selling and leaving me with a pretty good profit in the end, so that's a brand I'm probably going to continue being on the lookout for and flipping in this new year. Next up is this All Saints silk rivy shirt dress in a size 4. This one I listed at $68 and sold for $40 on Poshmark. Left me with $30.22, and it took 167 days to sell. I actually just shipped this maybe 2 weeks ago, so very recent flip. But All Saints, I love to grab it when I find it, and I've had pretty good luck. Let me see really quick. Okay, yeah, almost. I was gonna say, I think All Saints is a brand that has 100% sell-through rate for me, meaning every item by that brand that I've listed, I've sold, but that is true for all but one. I currently have an All Saints kind of like sweater tank top currently listed, but other than that, it is a brand that sells very well and not always fast, but it's a brand I can count on selling, so I will definitely be on the lookout for All Saints moving forward. All right, this next one is a pair of We The Free Ziggy denim overalls in a size large, and these I had thrifted back in June, and I didn't end up listing them until 3 weeks ago, and they ended up selling for $40. And once I did finally list them, they only took 10 days to sell. So if only I had just listed them when I, thrifted them. But as I mentioned in my last video, I took a big chunk of a break. So things were just kind of a little bit on pause. But it's good to know that these were a quick flip, because I feel like I've had them for a long time, but really they just, kind of I have, but they weren't listed. So I can't, it's not their fault. You know what I mean? It's my fault. So they took 10 days to sell and left me with a profit of $30.20. We The Free is a Free People brand for anybody who does not know. So it's a brand I'm on the lookout for, and I think the items from that brand are really cute and typically do actually pretty well. This next item is a Philosophy cashmere sweater in size large. This one I flipped on Poshmark for $42. I listed it at $50, and then somebody sent me that offer for $42. Super reasonable offer, and that left me with a profit of $31.27. 2 days to sell. Great flip. Philosophy, I don't even know if I've had many other instances of selling that brand. I can think of one other sweater that I sold by that brand, but that's a brand that I don't always grab. I think this one was, cashmere, which is a higher quality material and typically does sell for more. So that's probably the main reason, and I do remember it being in very, very good condition. Cashmere is a little tricky. It sometimes looks in good condition, and then when you do a little bit more looking at it, it ends up having a little hole or something somewhere on the item. So I really recommend being super thorough with any item you get, but with cashmere, it does tend to have little holes in there. So just be on the lookout for that. But that did end up being a really fast flip and, a great sale overall. Okay, then this next sale is the only one from this whole lineup that is not from the bins. I got this at Savers, and I spent $6.39. So that was my cost of good. But it is this pair of Rothy's round toe slip-on cheetah print flats. I listed them at $70, and then they sold for $42. So I think that was an offer I sent out to Lakers, but that's more than 20%. So what is that, 30% or 40%? So that must have been a bigger bulk offer that I sent out. But that ended up leaving me with a $25.19 profit. They did take 119 days to sell, so not a majorly quick flip. Anyone who's been reselling for a while probably has heard a million times about Rothy's, and it's one of those brands that maybe used to do better than it does now, or it could be case by case, but yeah, it's a brand that I would definitely grab it if it's at the bins. I wouldn't pay much for it necessarily. I have in the past and it did work out for me, but you know, it doesn't look like these were majorly desirable if they took 119 days to sell. It's kind of what I'm getting at. So it's not like necessarily what they used to be, or maybe it does just depend which style, which print. I know the retired prints do sell for more and quicker, so that could be the case. But I guess with Rothy's, when it comes to Rothy's, just maybe do a little research and look into it a little bit before you just assume, because I know that Rothy's used to be like, you know, kind of like what am I even trying to say? They used to be like a banger or like a major win if you found them on that day when you were thrifting. But yeah, I think maybe the retired prints are the ones to really be on the lookout for, and bigger sizes. Size 11 Rothy's flip quick from my experience. So things to keep in mind, I guess, when it comes to Rothy's. Then I sold this pair of Mother high-waisted looker jeans in a size 27. These I sold on Poshmark for $44, and again, that was offers to likers. I was left with a profit of $31.69, and they took 392 days to sell, so just over a year, a little over a year, but a good profit overall once they did sell. And again, it's like some brands, especially at the bins, if you're paying $1.50 to $2 or somewhere in there, it's just like, it doesn't really matter how long it takes, and you don't want it to take a long time. Obviously we want quick flips, but sometimes the items do take a little bit longer, so it's nice to know that you didn't spend that much on it in the first place, so it's like not a major risk, I guess. Another All Saints item, this is an All Saints camo crew neck sweater in a size small. This I listed at $60 and then ended up selling on Poshmark for $45, so that left me with $34 in profit, and it took 13 days to sell. Quick flip, and I listed it back in January of this year, and it sold beginning of February, so pretty much prime time. That could also help it having been a quick flip, just because the seasonality, sweaters in the winter typically going to do better than if you list a sweater in June. It's got a higher chance of selling quickly because there's more people looking for it in the winter, so that also helps. Something else to kind of keep in mind with some of these is that whole seasonality thing, like we talked about earlier. So it's kind of hard sometimes to pin down exactly why items flip better than others. It's not always the brand. There's a lot of factors. From my experience, that's kind of the way it goes. All right, next up is this Lululemon Swiftly Tech long sleeve crew neck top. This is a style of a Lululemon item, the Swiftly Tech, that I've sold a few times, long sleeve and short sleeve, but I have sold every single one that I've thrifted to flip. So it is a style that I am really on the lookout for when it comes to Lululemon. I listed that at $45 and it did sell for full asking price. So it left me with $35.17 after my cost of goods, platform fees, and shipping costs. And it was a same day flip. So a full asking price, same day flip is kind of like the best you could ask for when it comes to reselling. So be on the lookout for the Swiftly Tech style. If you come across it and you're not spending much, I think it's a pretty safe pickup. Okay, next is this Spanx stretch twill cropped wide leg pair of pants in a size 1X. These sold on Poshmark for $47 and left me with $34.63 in profit, and it took 9 days to sell. Let me know if you have flipped Spanx pants before and if you tend to have similar luck with them flipping for a pretty good sale price and quickly. All right, then I sold this pair of Goldie crisscross asymmetrical shorts in a size 24. So I do remember these, I do remember thinking these might not be a very quick flip because of the smaller size. 24 is a pretty small pant size and does not always sell very well or very quickly just because it is such a small size. But those actually did sell in 41 days, so just over a month. They sold for $50 on Poshmark and left me with a $38.11 profit. So a Goldie is a brand I mostly never pass on in the bins as long as they're in good condition, because I did thrift a pair of pants that have a rip like in the back of the leg that I picked up even though they had that rip because they were a Goldie, and I like kind of regretted it ever since. So as long as they're in good condition, then it's a pretty safe pickup. But you know, and if you're not spending too much, aka at the bins. But if you know, if you're spending up, obviously look more into it. But overall, that's a brand that does well, especially if it's a good style, and apparently even if it's a smaller size. Okay, moving right along, we've still got quite a few to go. And I just had a cough attack, so I'm like struggling. Okay, next is this Reformation Christie linen sundress in a size small. This one I listed at $85 on Poshmark. I was feeling pretty good that was gonna sell for a little more, but you know, I ended up accepting a $50 offer. Still a great flip, especially because I spent $1.57, so it's like there's that fine line of knowing what an item is worth and then just like being a little greedy, because it's like I spent so little for this, you know? So that left me with a profit of $38.43 and took 79 days to sell. I thought it was gonna be a quicker flip. I'm not complaining because that did end up selling, but a linen sundress from Reformation, I definitely would expect. Oh, you know what? I didn't list that. I listed that in December of last year, so pretty much a year ago, and then it sold in March in the spring. So I guess that makes sense. That's, again, that seasonality thing. It's not always clear when you're looking at a turnaround time why an item took longer or a shorter amount of time. So, but that does make sense. If I listed it in December, sold in March, you know, that's still pretty quick. Under 3 months is still pretty quick, but sometimes items really do just take like 2 days, and sometimes they take like 2 years. So it's like, sometimes you gotta really look into why. Why are you taking so long, or why are you flipping so quickly? It's good to do a little bit of like digging into that. But anyways, Reformation is a good brand to be on the lookout for. And we had a couple different items on this list, one pair of pants and a dress, and they both sold for 40 or more. So it's a brand to be on the lookout for, to bolo. All right, then we have this pair of Frame Lahome slim jeans in a size 30, a men's 30. These I listed at $50 and they sold on Poshmark for full asking price. So that left me with $38.11, and it took 82 days for those jeans to sell. Next is this Burberry Brit quarter zip pullover in a size large. Again, another Burberry item. This one I listed at $75 and sold for $50 on Poshmark, and that left me with $37.71. Took 61 days to sell. Burberry at the bins, pick it up. If you find it, pick it up. Another brand that I had never heard of until I came across it and looked into it. This is a pair of Gentle Herd high waist wool joggers in a size medium. These I had listed at $78, and then I ended up accepting an offer for $50 on Poshmark. Left me with $38.34, and they took 88 days to sell. That was, again, a brand that I looked at the brand tag and thought this looks, or excuse me, the care tag, and thought it looked like something nicer than like a Forever 21 or another, you know, fast fashion brand with those long crinkly tags. It was like just a smaller care tag, really clean print. Those care tags can tell you a lot about an item just at a first glance. So that's something I utilize when I'm thrifting, especially if it's a brand I've never heard of. It goes from, you know, you're not going to look into every single item into depth, but if something stands out like that, then it's at least worth looking a little further into. So I was glad that I did that, because that left me with a little under $40 in profit, and you know, an under 3 month turnaround time for those 88 days. So a good flip and a brand. I think that's the only time I've ever found it, but if I did find it again, I would check comps and you know, probably pick it up again. All right, next on the list is this Cezanne embroidered long sleeve blouse in a size 36 or extra small. And this is a brand I am always on the lookout for. I think it's a really great brand to resell if you can find it. and I ended up selling it on Poshmark for $50. That left me with $39.42 in profit, and it took 35 days to sell. Then I found this Todd Snyder Champion tie-dye sweat shorts in a size large. These, I thought they just looked really cool when I found them in the bins, and they were new with tags, so that made me want to get them even more. But I had them listed at $60, and then I ended up selling them on Poshmark for $50. That left me with $38.30 in profit, and they took just over a month, 34 days to sell. Let me know if you guys have heard of Todd Snyder. I had never heard of that. I don't know if it must be a brand and they did a collaboration with Champion, or it's like an artist or something like that. I don't remember the specifics, but let me know if you guys have any knowledge or experience with Todd Snyder. And I just realized I actually have 2 items on this list that were not from the bins. So this is the other item that I spent $5.83 on, and I believe I got this at just a regular Goodwill. So it's this pair of Patagonia stand-up high-rise shorts in a size 12, and that's a size like vintage 12. So I can't remember what that converts to, but I do remember having to figure out like what size that would be today. But this pair of shorts, I actually shared it on a thrift haul, and a viewer told me the style of the shorts. So I was really grateful for that. I think that did help them sell quicker, just to have the style name in there. So I sold those for full asking price at $50 on Poshmark. That left me with $34.17 in profit, and they took 13 days to sell. So that was a really good flip, and thank you if you are watching for telling me the style on those. This next sale is a pair of Lululemon Wonder Under leggings. These I had listed at $65 and then ended up selling for $50 on Poshmark. That left me with $37.71, and they took 234 days to sell. By no means a fast flip, but a good flip nonetheless. My next sale is this Levi's denim 90s style jacket in a size medium, and I listed it at $60 on Poshmark, and it ended up selling for $51. So that was an offer that a buyer sent to me. That left me with $39.08 in profit, and they took 29 days to sell. Sorry if you can hear Nellie snoring and or the cars outside. Got some noises going on, but hopefully it's not super annoying and distracting, so my apologies. Next up is this Ariana Grande Sweetener Tour oversized crew neck sweatshirt in a size large. This I vividly remember picking up in the bins and thinking it was like gonna be a pretty good flip, and it sold for $59. So I guess be on the lookout for Ariana Grande merch, although I'm pretty sure I have a sweatshirt listed right now that has not been selling. I think it's listed. I'm pretty sure it's listed, but anyway, this did end up being a good flip. It was a unique, kind of more rare merch sweatshirt, I think, but, well, I don't know about rare, but there weren't a ton of them listed. It was not a saturated item on eBay or Poshmark. So that ended up taking 37 days to sell and left me with $45.50 in profit. Next is another pair of Lululemon leggings. It is the Align high-rise leggings in a size 12. So these I had listed at $78 and then ended up selling for $60 on Poshmark. So that left me with $46.32 in profit. And that was a same day turnaround, so a very quick flip, and I am very happy. I think those ones in particular, just being a little bit of a bigger size, and I had the exact, what is it, like pattern color name. Sometimes I can't figure out exactly what the pattern on the leggings are, if they're not just plain black or something. Even if they are a color, they always have like different kind of names. So I think that actually does help it sell in a lot of cases, and the Align leggings are like the really good, super buttery, soft Lulu leggings. So they're ones I'm on the lookout for. But same day flips, you just gotta like really look at all the details, at least in my opinion, just to know like what happened with that flip. Why did it sell so quickly? And how can I make every single flip like that? Then I sold this pair of Rag & Bone chino pants in a size 30. These sold for $60 on Poshmark, left me with $45.10 in profit, and took 82 days to sell. So Rag & Bone, I think when it comes to Rag & Bone, their pants do tend to do the best, or at least sell for the most in a lot of cases. So sometimes I don't have as good of luck with rag & bone tops, but with pants and jeans, I do think they can be a pretty solid flip a lot of times. This next one is a pair of Sync Acept Brienne pants in a size 10, and I even put the word Revolve in there, which is the website that this brand is sold on, or one of the websites it's sold on, but I think a lot of people do search for Revolve type items, and so a lot of times I do like to put that, or like if it's again like Pilcrow in the title, I would put like Pilcrow Anthropology, just because it's a lot of times I think easier found than if you just put that brand, but I digress. So those ended up selling for $60 on Poshmark and left me with $45.32 in profit, and took just over a month, 33 days to sell. It's a good brand to be on the lookout for, and I actually have only found it a handful of times, but it has sold pretty well in the past as well, so that's a brand I definitely will continue to be on the lookout for when I'm out thrifting. My next sale that sold for 40 or more on Poshmark this year was this Arc'teryx full zip base layer fleece jacket in a size small, and this sold for full asking price on Poshmark, so I listed it at 65 and it did sell for 65 in 51 days. So that actually took a couple months, but then when it did sell, someone just outright bought it. You gotta love it. Left me with a $50.26 profit. Be on the lookout for Arc'teryx if you're not already. You probably are, but if you're not, Arc'teryx obviously is a brand that people are willing to spend a pretty good amount on the resale market, even $65 used. Like, do I need to say anything else? All right, then this next up is a Saison button front blouse top in a size 36, and it sold for $66 on Poshmark. I think I found it on the same day as that other Saison top that was earlier on this list, but both were a $40 or more flip, and that left me with a profit. So it sold for 66, left me with 52.22 in profit, and that took 83 days to sell. Next is another Levi's jacket, and it was this Levi's premium Sherpa lined denim trucker jacket in a size men's medium. This is one that I half wish I just kept, at least for a while, because I really like it, and it would have been a nice, like, comfy, cozy denim jacket with the Sherpa liner in there, but I did not keep it. I flipped it, and it was listed at $70 and then it sold for $70, so another full price sale. That left me with $53.67 in profit, and it only took 4 days to sell. A great flip. I would flip that again all day, and it was the Levi's premium, so that could have helped it, you know, sell for a little bit more, but that was a good flip. Next flip on this list was this Hatch over the bump slim maternity jeans in a size 29. I've been on the lookout for this maternity brand Hatch for a long time, and this is the only time I ever found it. So I ended up selling them on Poshmark for $70, and that left me with $54.30 in profit, and they took 22 days to sell. So that's a good brand to be on the lookout for when you're out there. Let me know if you've found Hatch before, or if you've even heard of that brand. I don't know why it is so hard to come by, but it is. So it's just one of those brands. Next up is this pair of Aviator Nation and SoulCycle sweatpants. These sold on Poshmark for $75. That left me with $58.45 in profit. They took 5 days to sell, and I do remember when I thrifted these wondering if they were going to do very well because they had the SoulCycle like collaboration, which sometimes is a good thing and sometimes it's a bad thing to have a collaboration of brands. It can help a brand or hurt a brand in weird ways, but they did sell for $75. So even though I was a little skeptical with the collaboration, it did not matter. They still sold very well, good profit, and they only took 5 days to sell. So Aviator Nation, you know I'm on the lookout for it. You're probably on the lookout for it. It's a good brand to be on the lookout for, and it's semi-rare, but it did end up on this list again in a second, so it's not totally that rare. All right, then next is this Johnny Was embroidered tunic in a size large. This sold on Poshmark for $75, and left me with $58.28 in profit. Only took 15 days to sell. That's another brand that is not the easiest to come by, but it is out there. So if you do find Johnny Was, it can be a very good flip. And especially if you're at the bins, like, why let that go to the landfill? You know, get that out of there, flip it online, and it's probably gonna be a good flip. Did I say how long it took to sell? I think I did. 15 days, yeah, just over 2 weeks, just under a $60 profit. And that's a brand that sometimes it's hard to tell on the tag that it's Johnny Was. Like, it'll just say JW, or it's just not like super obvious. So you can kind of tell by the bohemian kind of a look on their items, and a lot of times it is embroidered and things like that. But if you find it, it's a good flip typically, but it's not always obvious that it's Johnny Was. So if you see something that resembles what I just said, bohemian, embroidered, and it just looks like it could be something, maybe look into it, because it could be something. My next sale was this Fendi vintage classic stripe tote bag, and I had this listed for quite a while before it ended up selling, but it just took the right buyer to come along, and AKA it took somebody who was actually looking for an item like this to come along, because I don't think just anybody's gonna buy a vintage Fendi item on the resale market just willy-nilly. So this took 333 days to sell, but once it sold for $100, and it was a bins pickup, so that was obviously a good flip. I will say the one thing with this item is I did spend $20 to have it, oh God, what's that called? Verified, or, oh my God, I cannot think of the word. I basically made sure it was real and authenticated. I had it authenticated, so it took, it was a quick process. It took like less than a day to send in pictures of all these different parts of the bag to an authenticator online. This was all online, but I spent $20. So after my, platform fees, cost of goods, and shipping costs, I was left with $78.52, but then taking $20 out of that to have it authenticated so that I was confident it was real and the buyer could be confident it's real, that left me then with $58.52. So I just wanted to make a note there. A lot of times if you don't know if an item for sure is authentic, it is good to, pay the money to get it authenticated, just so you're not selling something that's fake and the buyer's not getting kind of screwed over. So I think that is something that if you're not sure, like in a lot of cases, Coach or something like that, like you can pretty easily tell if it's real. But for a vintage Fendi bag, I had no knowledge or prior recollection or anything to go off of to determine if that was real. So, and I couldn't find the exact one online because it was from the 80s, I believe. So anyways, long story short, sometimes to have it authenticated, it can eat into your profit. But in this case, I still was left with over $50 in profit. So it was worth it to me to just have that confidence that it was real. Okay, last on this list is another Aviator Nation item. It's this Aviator Nation 5-stripe sweatpants in a size medium. And these sweatpants is pretty much the best on this list, I gotta say, because they sold for full asking price at $100 and they only took 3 days to sell. That left me with $78.98 in profit. You gotta love a full price fast flip. So there you have it. Those are 40 items that I flipped this year on Poshmark for $40 or more. And I am curious if any of these were surprising or if these are all not surprising at all. Let me know how your year was, okay? It's the end of the year, so in one word, sum up your year for me in the comments if you feel like it. But I would say my one word was interesting. Interesting year for reselling for me, especially because, like I shared in my last video, it's just been a lot of change over here, moving across the country, moving back across the country. And so it's kind of fun to look back and get me excited again for this upcoming year. In my next video, I'm going to be going through all of my inventory and just basically getting rid of stuff, deciding what I need to keep, deciding what I need to list that I haven't listed. So yeah, that'll be my next video, is a full look at my current inventory and just kind of going through and sorting that. So that'll be kind of a fun video. And if you have stuff to go through on your inventory, maybe that's just a good one to throw on while you do the same, and we can kind of like purge our inventory, because I'm kind of ready to bring more new in, and that means I need to make decisions on what isn't selling, what I've been sitting on for a long time, and I'll go through all that and share with you guys. So hopefully that'll be kind of a fun video slash productive for me, because it's something I need to do anyways. Hope you guys like this video. If you did, leave a like, and Happy New Year. Hope you guys all had a really good holiday season. I know it can be stressful, but hopefully it was also just like really cool and fun. But hope you guys have a really good rest of your day, and I will see you in my next video.